Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Under the Sportlight. This is the podcast that explores the people who live and breathe professional sport. I am your host, Phil, and today on the podcast, we're talking with Maddi Desiano. She's a standout defender, former UCLA Bruin national champion, professional player in the NWSL and Denmark. She went from major injuries to championship moments and a pro journey across the world. Maddi's story is about bending, never breaking. See what I did there?
Yeah, I
Welcome,
love that.
Maddi.
Thank you so much for having me. Very
Yeah, you're welcome.
excited.
Thanks for being here. And as we get started, I'd love to know a little bit more about your background. So go back to little Maddi. What was life
Yeah.
like growing up for you, and what first drew you to soccer as a child?
Little Maddie grew up in a surf town in Southern California. It's called San Clemente. All my family's from there, grew up playing AYSO, which is like rec soccer for young kids, and fell in love with the game from the beginning. Started playing club soccer when I was 9, 10 years old and played for the same club until I was 18. So I had a very positive club soccer experience. I also grew up dancing. My mom is a dance coach. Both my parents are coaches. So I grew up in that like competitive sports culture environment, learned a lot from my parents, and was able to dance for my mom in high school. So dance has always been a hobby of mine and something that I loved to do when I was growing up. But yeah, I love where I grew up. I every time I get to go back home, I always enjoy my time going to the beach, seeing family friends and friends that still live there. So I love San Clemente and all my memories from there.
And it was nice and sunny, I'm sure, as well, which is a little bit different from where you are right now.
Different. Yeah, I'm in Spokane, Washington. It's 30 degrees out. And when I was home over Christmas and New Year's, it was nice and warm. I got to tan. I got to be outside in the sunshine, which I knew I wanted to take advantage of because I knew coming back to Spokane, I probably won't see the sun for the next month or so.
Yeah, and you were also mentioning dance. Was it a specific type of dance that you did, or just general?
Um, I would say just general, like a lot of jazz and contemporary. I was on my high school's dance team. I wasn't like a important member of the team. Like I didn't do all the routines. I just did the class in the mornings and still competed on the weekends, but something that I love to do and something I loved to do when I was growing up.
Okay, so it was competitive then.
Yes, there was competitions. Like I competed until I was 18, juggling high school dance, high school soccer, club soccer, and then also I grew up on our youth national team from a freshman to senior year, so 14 to 18. And I got to travel and play all around the world with world class players against different international teams. Um, so I had some really cool experiences throughout high school. And looking back on it now, I'm super grateful for those memories and getting to be friends with and play with some of the best players in the world.
Yeah, and you were mentioning that you danced for quite a while, so I'm sure there was some overlap there with your beginnings in soccer. So what brought you to start playing soccer, and how did did dance have any role playing into your development as a soccer player as well?
I had to choose between competitive dance and competitive soccer when I was probably 12, so in middle school, just because scheduling and both are really expensive. So I decided to go with soccer. I think I just loved it being a team sport and I don't know. I think I was just drawn to playing soccer. So then I kind of took a step back with dance. But then few years later when I started high school, I started just dancing for fun, just to be a part of the dance team. And I think dance growing up gave me this like artistic outlet. It gave me a different set of friends. a different hobby. So my life wasn't just revolved around playing soccer and training and making the next national team camp. Like I had so many other things to look forward to, which I think just maybe took some pressure off of me, um, and just gave me something else to do.
Yeah. Did you have any big mentors growing up within soccer?
Within soccer, my club coach, his name's Tad Boback. He's like the godfather of Southern California soccer. Like he's in his 70s now, he has gray hair, but he was my club coach from 11 to 17, and we had a really, really good club team, girls that are still playing professional today. And he just instilled, he called it his 7 powerful parts. And I can't, I forget them now, but he basically taught us like the mental side of the game and how to have mental toughness and how to overcome adversity when we were really little. And that has stuck with a lot of us who are still playing to this day. So I think he was a big mentor for me. Obviously, I grew up watching our national team and supporting, like, going to games and watching on TV, and so it's really cool now that young girls have so much more access to watching games and to, like, supporting their teams.
Yeah, the growth of women's soccer has been incredible the past few years. And you were talking about mentality and how your coach instilled that mentality into you. Do you think that it's important to teach people at a young age before they go into, say, college or university when they actually have to put that into play much more?
Yeah, 100%. I think especially the overcoming adversity part, because once I got to UCLA, I had a lot of adversity in front of me with injuries and playing time and all of that. And I think when you're 11 or 12, you don't really know what adversity is. Like, he was just telling us these words, and we are all just like, okay, like nodding along. But I think as we got older and throughout high school, it was a really important tool for us to all have to carry with us, and especially the mental toughness side of it, because I think more than anything now, being a professional athlete, like so much of the game is mental. And yes, there's skill involved in athleticism and like talent, but I think a lot of the times, um, it's how you think about yourself and how you're preparing for the games. Like there's a whole mental side of it. So I feel really lucky that I was like introduced to these different tools when I was 13, because here I am now 25, and I think they've really helped me.
Yeah. And I want to get into UCLA and you going to college, but just a quick sidetrack here before we continue.
Yeah.
I read something about you being called Mad Dog or something like that. What is up with
Yeah,
that?
this it's a that's actually a good segue to going into UCLA. I mean, my parents always gave me that nickname, Mad Dog. Like, I think growing up, I mean, I have a brother and my cousins are all boys, so I feel like I was always running around with them, and I do have, well, I did have this like really aggressive, like maybe a little bit mean side of me, and so the mad dog would come out sometimes growing up. But when I got to UCLA, I had 2 ACL injuries back to back. So I spent 2.5 years essentially injured, rehabbing in the weight room a ton. And so our strength coach, when we were in the weight room, would call me Mad Dog because I would like be lifting really heavy to try to get my strength back to get back on the field. So a lot of my like rehab friends on the team would always call me Mad Dog, and that kind of stuck throughout my career. And it's funny because now after I left UCLA, no one really called me that nickname. And then I'm on this new team, Spokane Zephyr, and one of the girls from UCLA that I played with is on the team. So she started calling me Mad Dog. So girls on the team now like call me it. It's funny.
Yeah, so it's a full circle moment. It's coming back to
Full
you.
circle, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, so you were saying about I want to talk about your injuries soon, but before we get to that, walk me through then choosing to go to UCLA and how all that happened.
So the recruiting process was different back then. You could verbally commit to a school as soon as seventh, eighth grade. So when you're 12 years old, 13 years old. So you could commit very, very early. So I started the recruiting process my freshman year of high school. I was 14. I was recruited by a lot of top schools, Stanford, UCLA, Santa Clara in California, Notre Dame, Cal Berkeley. But towards the end of it, I decided that I wanted to play in California and I wanted to play in the Pac-12, which the Pac-12 isn't a conference anymore. But I grew up in like a Pac-12 family. My dad actually is a huge USC football fan. So the rival of UCLA, he's big SC football fan. He really wanted me to go to USC, but they didn't recruit me. They didn't want me, which was fine. So it kind of broke my dad's heart a little bit. I mean, he was really happy for me, but to this day, he only wears like UCLA soccer shirts. Like he doesn't wear like any other type of UCLA shirt.
You converted him.
I converted him. Yeah. He loves UCLA soccer. He's a basketball coach too. So and UCLA basketball has like a ton of culture and history. So he likes UCLA basketball as well. But yeah, I was 15 years old. I was a sophomore in high school and UCLA gave me a great scholarship and it's an hour and a half drive from my childhood home where my parents could get to go to every home game. It's a great academic institution. I knew I would come out with, a great degree from a prestigious school. And I wanted to go to UCLA to win a national championship. Like that was my dream, that was my goal. And I knew out of all the schools I was being recruited to, like that would be possible going to UCLA.
And that sort of walks us into the story of your book, which is
Yes.
called Bend Never Break.
Yes.
So this is great. So I'd love to know then a little bit more about your ACL injuries. So you start going to UCLA and what happened?
Yeah, so I graduated high school early, and I enrolled in January of my like senior year of high school. And 4 months later, I tore my ACL, which I didn't, it was very sad. Like I was very upset about it, but I also knew at that time that's an injury that happens often in women's soccer. And I know a lot of players come back from it. So I think it was more, I was very, heartbroken, but also I was like, okay, I can come back from this. I'll be fine. And then 1 year later, I had gotten cleared for contact practice and I retore my ACL. That was super devastating. So now I'm 19 years old. I'm a sophomore and I had already redshirted and I was going to have to redshirt again. So yeah, retore it. I didn't even get to play in a game. I didn't get to play in many practices. I was super sad about it. I spent the summer back at home. I didn't come up to UCLA like I had originally planned to do rehab. I did rehab on my own just so I could spend some time away. Um, and that leads us into going into 2020, which is when the pandemic happened. So that delayed my return to play even more because we had to go back home. We couldn't be on campus. I ended up getting a cleanup surgery. So now it's my third surgery in my left knee in 2020. I'm 20 years old. And then we find out our fall season is canceled. So those 2 years were really tough. I didn't think I'd play again at that level. I watched my team play in the College Cup in the stands, very injured, thinking there's no way I'd be able to play in a game like that and compete in a game like that. And somehow I did. I was able to come back and spent a lot of time in the weight room doing extra work, recovering, getting fit again. And in 2021, I made my return to play almost 3 years later. It was
Wow.
very crazy.
Yeah, well, that's incredible. Going through the same thing twice and tearing it like
Yeah.
right when you come back. It's incredible. And I just can't help but wonder, what was the difference? Like you mentioned a little bit that it was, the first time you're like, yes, I'm coming back stronger. Second time you're like devastated.
Yeah.
How do you stay motivated the first time? And then more importantly, how do you stay motivated then again the second time when you're now re-tearing the same ACL?
The first time was easier because, like I said, a lot of people have this injury. So I was super aggressive in my rehab. Like, there was not a lot of bad days per se. Like, it was a very, like, I got this. I'm going to come back. People come back from this. I have plenty of time to come back. So I think the first time around it was just easier to be motivated. Second time around was definitely not. I did not think I was gonna come back. I more so was just trying to get back to just live my life. Especially in both times, I tore my meniscus twice, like my medial and lateral meniscus. So I had not just like a clean ACL tear, I had a lot of other problems, which that delayed my recovery. And people ask me this all the time, like, how did you do it? Or how'd you do it twice in a row and come back? And the honest answer is like you put your head down and you do it. Like that's kind of what it was. And it probably wasn't the healthiest mindset, but that's kind of what it took. There was no other choice. Like I wake up every morning, I go to rehab, I make sure I eat enough food, I do extra, and I go to bed. Like that was my routine for whatever it was. And I look back at like that version of myself and feel bad for me then because I'm like, dang, I didn't give myself a chance to like grieve missing soccer. Like I became very like robotic and very just kind of this like I don't goal oriented person, kind of in a negative way almost. Like I'm just going to come back and this is what I'm going to do. I don't have another choice. That's like
Yeah.
that's the answer. There wasn't really any like
Yeah.
any other thing. I just put my head down and I did it.
Yeah. And how do you redefine success during those seasons on the sidelines? Because I'm sure you're
Yeah.
looking at it for you going into university, you think success is something, right? Like you're gonna play with the
Yeah.
team, you're gonna be champions, etc. And now you tear your ACL, you have to redefine success, and then you tear it again, you have to redefine it again. So how do you do that?
It's a great question. I in the beginning, like my version of success was just meeting goals, like being able to run for 20 minutes, like being able to be in a passing pattern. Like my recovery, there was no big goals at the end. Like I didn't think about playing in a college cup. I didn't think about playing professionally or being drafted or like scoring in the college cup. Like none of those were goals of mine because it didn't really seem feasible. Like it didn't seem possible. So my version of success was just being a good teammate, like being attentive, knowing what's going on in practice, like that type of stuff. And then just conquering like small goals in my rehab. Um, and then of course, the closer I got to playing again, and once I started playing again, then those goals kind of shifted. And I was able to like dream a little bit bigger and think, okay, now I want to try and become a starter. Now I can focus on how I can get my team to get to a national championship. Like I was able to have bigger goals once I was back playing. But in the moment, like coming back from an injury, I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to play professional soccer. That was not in the cards.
And then coming back from injury at that point, was there a turning point that helped you think, okay, I can do this. I can become a leader
Yeah.
in the Bruins defensive system and we can do this. What was that point?
I think the year before we won the national championship it was our fall season. It was my true senior season. I started a good amount of games in and out of the lineup. Like I led our team in assists from left back. And that fall kind of showed me like, okay, I'm capable of playing at this level. I'm capable of being a starter at UCLA. I'm capable of making an impact. I just needed a little bit more time. And so that kind of got into then the whole story of our team and winning, and how the end of that year, I was like the oldest person on the team. Like there was a group of us that were turning 22. We were on the older end, and we kind of decided like, hey, let's have no regrets. Let's go out there and try to lead this team to greatness. And that was how the whole 2022 season was.
Yeah, and no spoilers on your book, but there was a moment when you had a coaching change at UCLA, right? And
Yeah.
how did that impact your development in that final season?
Oh my gosh, it impacted so much in my personal life and our team and the program. I always call it kind of the honeymoon phase. Like when Marguerite, the new coach, came in, we were so excited for change that anything she kind of put out in front of us was a positive impact. Like we were running a ton and lifting a ton, and our team got super fit. And no one likes to run. Like no one likes to do the beak test and 300s, but to us, we kind of took it as like, oh, she really cares. Like she wants us to be the best that we could be. So it was a fresh change, I think, in the beginning. And then for our full season, she impacted me and like our team just by being this like super adaptable coach. She coached us like we were adults. She coached us like we were coaches. Like we all became tactically a lot better of soccer players, which I think in the college game, like coaches don't coach like that. Tactics aren't really involved. But she coached with a lot of tactics, which I think we all respected and wanted. And yeah, I mean, to this day, like she's a mentor to me and someone I really look up to. So I'm super grateful for that opportunity to get to be coached by her.
And I'm sure doing all that tactical work has helped you immensely in your professional career.
Yes, for sure. For sure.
When did you come to that bend never break mantra, if you will?
So it's funny because the title, like, came to me very easily. Like, it was one of the first things is like, "Oh, I'm calling this book Bend Never Break." Basically, our team's style of play in that fall season was we were very defensive, very organized, very disciplined defensively. Like, that was kind of what we were known for. And our first 2 or 3 games in preseason were against Santa Clara, North Carolina, and Duke, like, all ranked teams. North Carolina and Duke were ranked number 1 and number 2, like, all on the road. And so, jokingly, before one of the games, Mark, our coach, kind of made a comment of like, "Okay, guys, like, we might not have the ball all the time. We just need to be like bamboo. Like, bamboo
Mm.
bends, but it doesn't break. Just keep them in front of you, shift side to side, be disciplined, and, kind of just good luck out there." Like, that's kind of how it was. And so that was our team's like little mantra throughout the year was like, we might bend a little bit, we might crack, but we're not going to break. And that carried with us when we lost games. That carried with us when we won big games. And that carried us to the final when we're down 2-0 and we come back and win. So I knew I wanted to call the book that.
And how did you know you were going to write it?
I knew like right when we were done, my mom suggested, she's like, you should just start writing everything down because you never know like if you want to write a book about this one day because it truly is like a great story. You have like these like euphoric moments and these like heartbreaking moments and you have drama and tension and like, you know, all these different lessons. And so that was in January 2023. So I moved to Houston to play for Houston Dash. And as a professional athlete, professional soccer player, you have a lot of free time. So I started just writing things down. I made like a huge Google Doc of a timeline for everything. And then I started interviewing teammates and coaches and support staff. Um, and then, yeah, it took about 2.5 years. But
Well,
at first, it kind of started off as like a joke. Like, my friends were like, "Oh, you're not actually going to do this." And I was like, "No, I'm going to. It might not be like in the next year, but I'm glad I did it when I did. And now it's done and it's out there."
well, and it has the perfect ending, right? Like ends with a champion. Like it just works.
Yeah, perfect ending, perfect beginning. Like, it's sad. There's like, I talk about mental health and leadership. So I kind of wanted to write the book. So if you had to medically retire and you had to stop playing soccer, or maybe you don't play, you're on the bench, you get cut, whatever, like that player can read it and relate to things in the book. And then the player who's like won everything in their life can also read it and like relate to it. So that was kind of my goal when writing it. And I think I did a good job.
You certainly did. And now all we need now is a sequel on the
Oh
pro
my
career
gosh.
after that. Do
I
you
know.
have any plans on keeping writing books?
No, someone said that to me the other day. Writing a book is really hard and something like incredible would have to happen to me to want to like write a book again. But part of the reason why I wanted to write that book too is because it's sort of like a thank you to like everyone who supported me. Family, friends, coaches, like I don't know, I feel like it was a good way to like close that chapter of my life of like and then now it's like playing professionally, I feel like it's like kind of a separate chapter. Um But short answer, no. I don't plan on writing another book.
Maybe someone needs to challenge you to do it, and then Mad Dog is gonna come out and is gonna have to do it.
I want someone to pick the book up for like a Netflix documentary or like ESPN 30 for 30, something like that, which I feel like in the next 5 years that could happen. Um,
Yeah,
so
I
yeah.
think it's a story that really lends itself well to a series like that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Um, and now, as we move into your professional career after UCLA, you've gone through all of this. You're champion. Tell
Yeah.
me then the story of how you got drafted and to play for the Houston Dash.
Yeah, that was definitely a crazy experience. I originally was going to play abroad right after I was done playing at UCLA. I just wanted to go abroad. I thought that would like suit me well. And I was on a family vacation in Hawaii. And my parents were like, you should just put your name in the draft because there was a draft back then and you had to like actually submit your name into it to even be like considered. And I was like, I don't know. And they're like, well, nothing can like, it's not going to hurt you. So I put my name in the draft, and within 48 hours, I had calls with like a couple teams. Couple teams had reached out. And then I thought, oh my gosh, like I could actually get drafted, I could get picked up. So 2 days before the draft in Philadelphia, my mom and I booked flights to go, which was kind of on a whim. We weren't gonna go, and then I was like, it's once in a lifetime. So of course, the flight gets delayed. We spend the night in the airport. It was like crazy travel day. Both of us had never been to Philly before. Um, and we were literally there for 24 hours. And yeah, got there, and it was in this huge convention center. My UCLA coaches were actually there. My agent, who I had just signed with, was there. And you're just waiting for your name to get called. And then it doesn't get called,
Okay.
and you start to doubt yourself. And that continued for like 2 hours. And I ended up being the very last pick.
Wow.
Um, Portland traded Houston, there was a trade that happened, so then Houston picked me up. Um, there was a few girls that were still there who I had known in high school, and so it was super sweet of them to stay and like watch me. Um, and then yeah, I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna go to Houston. So I boarded a plane like a week later and started my rookie year. So it all happened very fast.
Yeah, it must have been a shot of adrenaline when your name gets picked as the very last one.
Yes, it was very stressful and I was tired. I was crying, my mom was crying. It's like the whole 9 yards, but I'm glad I got to go. I also think that if I like me being there, I feel like was a reason why I got drafted was because like my agent was there. We were like working in tandem. Like I had met the Houston GM and coach that morning. So I believe like if I wasn't there, none of that would have happened, and maybe I wouldn't have gotten picked up. It all worked out, and then went out there, and yeah, a week and a half later or so. And you still have to like earn your contract, which was crazy. So like just because you get drafted doesn't mean that you like automatically get a contract. So then for the next like month and a half, I'm still trying to compete to get contracted.
Yeah, and how then did that time going to Houston, how did that time go and how did that shape you?
I enjoyed my time at Houston. Like I learned a ton, grew as like a person and as a soccer player. I had never lived outside of California before, so I think it was good for me to go live somewhere else. I got to like train and compete at a really high level every day, which I think made me a better soccer player. I didn't get to play a whole lot, which obviously sucks. Like you want to play and you want to, make your mark, but I'm also competing with like some of the best players in my position. Um, so yeah, just spent a lot of time learning, and Houston is like a super fun city. So I had a lot of fun like outside of soccer, made some really close friends. I really liked my coaches, but it was kind of the typical experience of like coach gets fired, then there's an interim coach. And so yeah, I finished my rookie year. We didn't make playoffs, which was kind of a bummer. And then I went back to Houston in the beginning of 2024, like my second year. I was there for a couple months, needed to get playing time, so I was like, I'll go and play abroad, and that's when I decided to head out to Denmark.
Okay. How was well, obviously that is going to be very different playing in Denmark. First, you're going
Very
from
different.
California to Texas, which is still pretty warm, same
Yes.
language. Obviously, you're still in the US, and now
Yeah.
you it sounds like what motivated you to take your career to Europe is you wanted to get playing time. Yes?
Yes. I knew I needed to probably make a move to go abroad to get playing time.
And how did that experience go? I'm assuming it was very different being in Denmark. How was it?
Yeah, it was it was different. Denmark is it's similar in terms of like everyone there speaks English, like similar food, similar stores. I feel like there's other places in Europe that are very different. So there wasn't like a total culture shock, but I lived in Odense, Denmark, which is about an hour and a half from Copenhagen. And it was kind of this like small town city, I would say. Like they have their own public transportation. I like biked everywhere, which is obviously different. I had a super cute little apartment. And in the Danish league, there's no cap on international players. So there was 5 or 6 Americans. There was a girl from Canada, a girl from England, which obviously helped with like making friends and having people to do stuff with. Soccer wise, I went to a club that didn't have a ton of resources, a ton of like high level experience with coaching and staff. It was their first year in the first division too. So that was difficult, I guess, just because I went from an environment that was super professional and you felt like a professional athlete, and then now maybe you don't feel as much like that. But either way, like I I really enjoyed my time there. I got to play a ton. I got to play different positions. I got to play a different style of soccer, which I think can always help you. And I also got to travel a ton because we had a lot of free weekends. So I would go to different countries and travel all the time, which is something that I really wanted to do while I was over there.
Nice. Yeah. Sounds like it was a very while hard, a very beneficial experience for you. And then,
Yes.
what led you then to sign with Spokane?
I knew from like a physical standpoint, I just with my knee that I still struggle with it today, that I knew I probably wanted to be back in the States where there's just more resources or back in like North America. I thought about playing in the Canadian League, thought about playing in Mexico, just with a club that has a bit more to offer. Because my other club, like in Denmark, which tends to be the case in across Europe in general, is you don't always have a full-time physical therapist or weight room or athletic trainer. Like those resources aren't always there, but in the States they are. Um, and when I got back in like mid to end of June, the USL had just ended their first league. So it was kind of like perfect timing. And this opportunity came up, and I knew some girls that were already coming here. Allie Cook, who I mentioned, who I played with at UCLA, and then another girl that I know from Houston Dash. So I already had friends. It's a 2-hour flight from home. Um, I've never lived in Spokane, Washington before, but it's been fun. So I signed 2 years in July, and I've had a great time so far.
No, do you have any major goals this season with Spokane?
I mean, I would love for my team and for us to make playoffs and to compete to win everything. It's a pretty competitive league, so we're like right kind of mid-table trying to fight to get up, get up to the top. And I got to play a little bit in the fall, so I want to just keep playing more and more minutes in the spring wherever my team needs me. We had a coaching change in the middle of the fall, like right kind of in the middle of our season, which was difficult a little bit. So now I think that we've had more time with her and just learning from her. I think things will be a lot better for us in the spring. So very excited for us.
Yeah, no, I wish you really good luck in these 2 years that you have with the club. Yeah, I know it should be fun. And I wanted to talk to you just a little bit about yourself outside of soccer, if that's okay. Who is Maddie outside of the soccer field, outside of the training facilities, or the weight room, or the tests and everything that you're running and doing? What are you
Yeah.
doing on your time off?
I think it's funny because I was just telling someone this, like, after I left UCLA, I feel like that's what I was trying to find out a little bit, because once you start playing professional soccer, you have so much more free time. When you're at school, you have classes, there's just more things to do, and that's when I decided I was wanting to write my book, because that was something I knew that could take up free time and stuff. But now, like, I'm kind of thinking of, like, what's next? Like, how do I want to, spend my time and figure out a career post soccer, which I think is something I'm really excited about, whether that's getting into coaching or going back and working at, like, a big school like UCLA, something like that. It's trying to stay involved in sports, women's soccer specifically, I think would be, like, right up my alley and something I'd love to do.
How are you seeing women's soccer, the whole industry, and how it's being shaped up in the last couple of years?
I think it's growing a ton, um, especially in America with us adding, like, a second league here, I think is huge. It just gives more opportunity for players to play in the States without playing in the NWSL. When I was abroad, it was really easy to watch games over there because there was no time difference. So I think over there, the game's growing even more. Like, even in the Danish league I was playing in, like, we would get a couple thousand fans. And in Denmark, like, soccer, it's big, but it's not like the biggest sport. Like, they love their handball over there. But even, like, in the small villages that, like, we would play in, they would still generate, like, a lot of fans, and their community would support them. So I kind of got to see the game grow, like, abroad. When I'm here, I think it's moving in the right direction.
I completely agree with you. We have been seeing, I work with athletes, and I have been seeing a lot of growth in women's soccer and women's sport in general, but women's soccer for sure. So I completely agree with you. Now, Maddie, before I let you go, we do have this last segment here on the show that I like to do with you. It's called Quick Fire. Okay, so I'll give you a
Okay.
choice between two options, and you got to pick one. Is that okay?
Okay.
All right, then. So this is Quick Fire.
It's quick fire time!
Black or bright colorway?
Bright colorway.
High socks or low socks?
Um, Recently I've been wearing low socks more.
Hmm, interesting. What made you change from high socks to low socks?
I always, like, are you talking about, like, in games? Like, I always wore my
Yeah.
socks above my knee, like, right above my knee. And then recently, I don't really know what changed. I was like, I'm gonna mix it up. And some of my teammates were complimenting me about it. So I was like, okay, I'll just keep doing it.
Cool. All right. Tactical discipline or creative freedom on the field?
Ooh. Tactical discipline. That's the defensive side of me. That's a good question.
Hair, braided or messy bun?
Ooh. Braided into a messy bun.
Sort of a mixture, I see.
Mixed. Yeah, mixed answer.
Yeah. Fast counterattack or possession play?
Um, Fast counterattack. Let's go with that.
Okay. Morning person or night owl?
Night owl. I love to sleep in.
City life or countryside?
city life, but I would pick beach life over city
Mm.
life.
Okay, so it could be a big city on the beach, right? That's perfect
That's where
for
I'm
you?
trying to be. That's where I'm going next.
Nice. Coffee or tea?
Coffee,
Locker room music or pre-game focused silence?
locker game music, and I'm on aux.
Oh, you're the one
I'm on
putting the
aux.
music out, eh?
Or I'm queuing up songs.
What sort of music do you like to listen to before the game?
Before games, a lot of Rihanna, Drake, just stuff you can kind of like dance to, not like heavy rap. Um, yeah, stuff like that.
Pump you up sort of music.
Yeah.
Nice. Tape everything or barely any tape?
I don't tape a whole lot.
Okay, and the last one is home opener or big rivalry match?
Ooh, probably big rivalry match. Yeah. But in our league, we don't have a lot of like, yeah, we kind of have one rivalry, and that's a fun game. So I'll go with rivalry. Good questions.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. We try our best to, stump you a little bit, see if we can
No, those are
catch you
good.
there.
I have no idea what you're gonna ask me, but those were good questions.
That's good. I'm glad you enjoyed that. Well, that's all I have for today, Maddie. I'd like to thank you again for being here and your willingness to share your story. It's an amazing story. Why don't you let people know about, your socials, where they can go follow you and where they can go buy your book and get to know more about you?
Yes. Well, you can go buy my book on Amazon, just under Bend Never Break. If you Google Bend Never Break, Maddi Desiano, there's a couple websites you can buy the book off of. But Amazon is usually what I tell people to do. My Instagram is Maddi Desiano, super simple, and that's pretty much the only like social media that I normally go on. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you again. And to everyone listening, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time on Under the Sportlight.